Well, good afternoon, Commissioners. It's a great opportunity to be able to present my 2018 budget to you this afternoon. Sorry that I can't be here in person, but had an event that was scheduled that causes me to be out of state. But first of all, I just want to thank your staff and the work that they have done to work with the Sheriff's Office to be able to present this budget, to be able to put it together, and then to even be able to do this video. I think that it's very important for, if I can't be there in person, to be able to actually be in front of you in this way, so that we can, and I can express really where I think it is that the Adams County Sheriff's Office is going in 2018 and kind of beyond, and the things that are very, very important to me as the sheriff. So we're going to jump right into it. As you can see, our core services, and I know that especially coming off of that staffing study that you're very familiar with our core services, the things that we do within the Sheriff's Office. The office is broken into 5 different divisions. If you include the Office of Sheriff, it's actually 6 different divisions. And that's gonna play a little bit of a role as we start to move forward and we talk about incorporating some additional staff into the Sheriff's Office. So administrative services really deals around human resources, IT, finance, and records. And then professional standards really deals with our policies that we have within the Sheriff's Office. They also have our training center out at Flat Rock. The jail has no real need for explanation. I know that you know what the detention division is all about. And then our patrol division, our detective division encompasses really the operations of the Sheriff's Office itself. So that's kind of the makeup of the Sheriff's Office until you get to the Office of the Sheriff. And that's really the folks that are working directly with me to be able to move our office forward. So some of the things that come out of that is our internal affairs, and that unit works directly under the Office of the Sheriff, as well as the community connection team that we have that is our face out into the public and making that connection with the community that we serve. So as we move on and we start talking about our FTEs, we know that we did that staffing study in the patrol division, and I don't remember what month it was over the summer that we started to talk about implementing some of that strategy that was suggested through that staffing study. But as you can see behind me, when we talk about our FTEs moving forward, if you look at the victim advocate, if you look at the patrol captain, the detention specialist, the 4 deputy sheriffs, the 1 deputy sheriff that's in the juvenile services unit, the 2 sergeants, those were positions that were all included in that staffing study. Now the detention specialists might look a little bit different and it might look out of sorts, but when we utilized that position, a detention specialist position, to hire the IT person that was included in the staffing study. So that was just an upgrade from that position, so we're asking for that detention specialist position to come back. And as you know, we put 4 commanders on the street so that we had 24-hour coverage. Those were 4 current deputy sheriff positions that we just upgraded, and now asking to get those 4 deputy sheriff positions back. So those positions we've talked about. We talked about them in depth when that staffing study was delivered earlier in 2017. There's a couple of positions on here that I think is important to talk about also. You may or may not remember, JMI was brought into Adams County for the CJCC, and the board agreed to pay money for JMI to do a study for us and put together some recommendations for the for the CJCC that we are going to be talking about on October 3rd in a study session. And as you might recall, I asked for some additional dollars from my budget to be able to bring JMI into our jail and really look at my court services unit and the way that they were operating in the jail. I really felt like there was some room for improvement in the way that we were doing things. And I really wanted to make sure that somebody's eyes were on that really knows best practices in the business. And we found quickly as they went through that there are some things that we can do moving forward that's really going to help out our folks that are in court services. One of the biggest things that I think that came out of that was duties and responsibilities of some of the staff that are in court services. And the one that was most glaring, and you'll see it up here, is the lack of a jail population manager. So what they asked for in that study, or what they suggested in that study, and what I'm asking for, is to be able to bring a jail population manager on board, and that person will be responsible for knowing why every inmate is in our facility, and really working with the team and alternative sanctions. And it kind of ties into the CJCC as to how it is that we make sure that we're best serving our community. But more importantly, this jail population manager is going to make sure that the people that need to be in jail are in jail. But if they don't need to be in jail, more importantly, we find alternatives to get them out of our facility. And as populations approach, over 750, 800 inmates in a jail, and you know that we're averaging about 1,050 on a daily basis, that's a big role to try to take on without somebody specifically looking at what that jail population is made up of. This person would also be responsible for supervising or managing that court services unit. Right now, that is done by our records manager. So our records manager is not only in charge of the staff that's running jail records, which is almost 30 people. She's in charge of that, and she's also in charge of court services. And their recommendation after going through the jail was, you need to split those responsibilities. You need to have a jail population manager that's really running court services and looking specifically at the inmate population within your jail, and have a manager that is devoting themselves to the records section at the jail. And again, when we're talking about over 1,000 inmates on a daily basis, the number of records that are generated, it didn't take us long to see that we really were behind. And then also being able to try to follow the footsteps of the manager that's in that position and trying to keep up with her. There's no way that you can do it. We need to split those two positions up. So I'm asking for a jail population manager. The second position that you're going to see there is this community services specialist. Now that is somebody that we are going to place in our Strasburg substation full-time, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, to be able to assist with the folks that live out on the Eastern Plains. We've had an opportunity over the course of the last 3 or 4 months to have one of our deputies that was on TRD sit in that chair. And we quickly came to the realization as to what an impact that has to our community, to be available to that community group out there on the Eastern Plains, to have somebody there during the day that they can come in and they can either file a report with, or they can request that a deputy respond to a different location. But it just falls right in line with my philosophy of making sure that we are meeting the needs of the community. And our Plains section deputies do a great job, but they do not get to spend any time in the office. And this is an opportunity for somebody to be there, to be able to interact with the community as they come in and they need resources from the sheriff's office and even from the county, because you know that below the sheriff's substation out there in Strasburg is the Eastern Plains Fleet Department, and they're the ones that service all of the county vehicles out there. It's a tight community out there. Everybody knows each other out there, and to have somebody from that community actually working in there with the sheriff's office and being able to be a liaison, I think is invaluable. And had we not had somebody on TRD out there, and had we not before that had some temporary help out there, we really would not have ever been able to quantify that need that is truly there for our community. The number of phone calls that come in there and the number of walk-ins that come in there, I think really show itself that need for a person out there is very, very important to that community. The other thing that I want them to be able to do is eventually get them trained so that they can deal with the concealed handgun permits that take place out there, so that our citizens that live, work, play, those citizens that are out there in that part of the community don't have to come into Brighton to get that done. They can get their services done out there in Strasburg. And I know as the county is expanding and we're looking at how it is that we service that community out there, the Big Red Barn is a perfect example of that. That community out there is only going to continue to grow. I think that's a huge growth area for Adams County, and this is an opportunity for us to get ahead of the game, put somebody in that position, and be able to be that liaison for the sheriff's office and for the county as a whole. So those are two positions that we had not talked about initially when we did that staffing study that was done. So as you look at our FTEs, it may look a little bit different than what we had talked about in that staffing study that was done in the patrol division and administrative services, but there's the explanation as to why that's there. Want to talk a little bit about some of our requested business cases as we move forward. As you can see, we have Academy overtime and we have the Adams County Sheriff's Office use of Flat Rock. Those two are because of really the change that we've had in our budget structure and our revenue structure out there. As you know, we've been working towards all of the revenue that is generated out at that training center to stay in the training center. We're well on our way for that. And one of the things that was talked about was when the Adams County Sheriff's Office uses the Flat Rock Training Center for training, that we pay for that. That had never been in our budget. We did a supplemental budget request in 2017 to be able to fulfill that request that came when this was approved. So now in 2018, this is the first time that you're going to see the Adams County Sheriff's Office use of Flat Rock in the initial budget. So that's one of the business cases that we needed to make, and that's the reason why we are making that. When it comes to Academy overtime, what we have done for a number of years is we have attempted to, as much as possible, those folks that were instructing in the Academy utilize either overtime from their own division or more often than not, utilize folks that are already on duty. So take them from their duty station that they were working in detectives or in patrol, move them out to the training center for that hour of instruction or that block of instruction. It may even be an entire day of instruction. The demands on the Sheriff's Office personnel at this point are so great, and those that are in the patrol division, that it becomes very, very difficult for us to do that on duty. And we immediately are now seeing the need for more overtime in our academy personnel, so that we start to really get a good look at what our academy expenses are overall, to include the personnel that are coming through and are utilized for trainers themselves for our academy. You'll also know that we receive revenue from those agencies that utilize the academy. So a perfect example, right now there are 11 other agencies that are utilizing the Flat Rock Training Center for their academy. They're paying $5,500 a cadet that come out there and are trained in the academy. There are 58 cadets out there, and 11 of them are the sheriff's office. So there's a great deal of revenue that is coming in to help offset these costs that we're asking for when it comes to academy overtime. But it's something new that's in the budget. Well, it's not something new in the budget. It's a higher amount in the budget, and we just wanted to talk about that a little bit. Our property evidence remodel, we have been going with the kind of the same configuration down there in our property evidence room since the building was opened, and it's just time. We've already done the patrol division. We've already done detectives. This is an opportunity to now get property evidence and those workstations in property evidence, get that remodeled, and get some equipment in there that is going to be serviceable again for another 10 to 15 years. That stuff's been in place for about 15 years, and it's fallen apart, and isn't something that we can continue to try to limp along on. The booking area remodel, as some of you will know or maybe remember, it's kind of odd. I'm doing this video on Tuesday morning. Some of you, if not all of you, will be meeting with me at 1:30 this afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, to tour the jail. And this will be one of the areas that you're going to get a first-hand look at and kind of what the plans are for the booking area remodel. So I'm going to ask you to go back and just remember what you saw on Tuesday when you were in the jail for that booking area remodel. And then the Crystal Reports upgrade, that's just an opportunity for us to get a new upgrade to our current Crystal Report system. As you well know, in the world of IT, things are continually being upgraded and changing, and we just need to keep up with that. So the last slide we're going to take a look at is some of our requested capital improvement plans. I'm not going to go through all of those. You have the numbers in front of you. A couple of things that I think is important to point out. The spacing study for A and E cells in the jail. We have probably one of the highest suicide rates in the state of Colorado when it comes to those committing suicide inside the jails. As you know, the largest part of our facility, or the old part of our facility, was built in 1985. And it was built as a single bunk. Was supposed to be 496 cells. And over the course of the years, when we needed more beds, it was double bunked. One of the problems with the double bunking is it gives folks an opportunity, unfortunately, for an area for them to tie off on. So our team has been out looking at how it is that we can, from a facility standpoint, look at options so that we can still utilize that portion of the jail, but reduce or eliminate areas where folks have historically been able to commit suicide while they're in the facility. Nobody wants to see something like that happen. Nobody wants that to happen within our facility. It's a traumatic day for everybody that's involved when that happens. And anything that I can do, I think I need to do to try to reduce suicides in our jails. And our staff has worked hard with facilities over the course of the last 2.5 years that I've been in office. And we've already done some things to help mitigate that. And they've been effective. We've seen a reduction in that. We just have to look at somehow, some way, still being able to have 2 beds in that cell, but not having a bunk where the beds are stacked on top of each other. That causes numerous problems for us. So that's one of the things that you see there. I believe that that's something that over the past couple of years has been put in facilities budget. But it hasn't, for whatever reason, been as high a priority for facilities. And I thought, well, maybe if we put it in the sheriff's office budget, we can talk about the priority it is for the sheriff and the sheriff's office. I understand facilities has a very, very large area that they're concerned about, and they have to prioritize things just the same way that I do, and I thought it very appropriate to put it in my budget. And obviously, as we move forward and we look at different things, that budget would then be moved over to facilities so that they could do any work that needs to be done on our system. I think that every year we have a new canine. Those are on a rotational basis. We have 9 dogs within the sheriff's office. Their service life is usually about 3, maybe 4 years. And so it's not uncommon for us to have 1 or 2 dogs on an annual basis that come up in our capital improvement plans. Some of that stuff is very self-explanatory. I'm going to point to the satellite office remodel in the jail, and that is another thing that we would have talked about on Tuesday. So if you can kind of recall that, and that all ties back to that court services unit, the space that they're working in currently, and just the need for them to have some more practical office space to be able to work out of. And then I think the last thing that I wanted to talk about is the radio replacement. So we had plans of phasing our radios over the course of 3 years. So 2017 was the first year. We had put some money in the 2017 budget to start down that road, and we've started down that road. The current radios that we have in our cars and the current radios that we have on our sides, all of those are, the technology is going to be obsolete, and they're not going to be servicing those radios anymore. So a huge project over the course of the last year to find the proper vendor, find the proper radios. Again, technology being what it is, we were headed in this direction. And we were going to ask that instead of spreading it out now over 18 and 19, that we move it into 18. So that was going to be the ask. You're also going to hear a pitch very soon that we have an opportunity to save $200,000 on this radio project if we pay for everything in 2017. So as you're considering these capital improvement plans, keep that in the back of your mind, because we will be before you here probably sometime in October asking you not just to move it into the 18 budget, but really move everything into the 17 budget so that we can completely pay for it, and the cost to the taxpayers and to our general fund is about $200,000. So would you consider that also as we move forward? The The rest of those, my staff members are here. If you have questions about those, please feel free to ask them. They're very knowledgeable about what is up here. I would not say that just because I talked about it, it had more priority than the other. All of these are important. We have vetted all of these with the county manager as we met. There were things that were removed from the capital improvement plan after our meeting with the county manager. So I want you to be assured that we are trying to be as fiscally responsible as we can. We are always looking at those numbers. We know that you have a big job in trying to bring all of the requests together. We know that you have to prioritize those too. And we want to collaborate with the Board of County Commissioners, the Budget Finance Office, and the county manager to make sure that we're utilizing the county dollars in the best way. So I just want to thank you for this time. And please, if you have any questions, make sure you ask my staff, or if it's important enough to talk about and you want me to get with you on a Tuesday in a study session, again, more than happy to talk about it at that time also. You've got a lot of other presentations to do. Have a wonderful afternoon, and thanks for the time.